Hello and welcome to the Higher Expectations podcast with the Higher Advantage. Today we have a very special episode where we have both the owner broker, Ron.
How you doing today?
And of course, me, Michael, his son. We don't have the son-in-law on here today, Josh, but...
Josh is busy playing jiu-jitsu with his son, my grandson, Jordan.
He's got a tournament today, so
Yeah.
that's fun. We'll have him on again,
sure.
all three of us at some point. But... Since it's the first time there's just the two of us, I just kind of wanted to dive deeper into your background, Ron.
Yeah,
I know you've
sure.
mentioned it a little bit in the pilot, if anybody's watched that, but deeper, what got you into real estate at first? Because I know it's a complex story. There's a lot going on at the time, and when did that happen?
For sure. Well, about 1995, okay? But a couple years before that, I was in the restaurant business, and then the economy turned. And we had to close the stores, and that was painful. But I learned a lot, okay? And I take that with me, and I share that information, what I've learned, with all of our clients, the buyers and sellers that never knew how the other side of Ron Hier before we got into real estate, that information and knowledge gets transferred into the real estate world. So in 1995, we closed the stores, and I went to work for a local franchise. And I was there for probably 9 years. We're going to call it Coldwell Banker.
But before that, I feel like there's a lot of information that you're not just almost stepping past. So
yes.
you were in the restaurant business,
I was,
right? So
yes.
Do you want to say what franchise you ran? Or?
Yeah, for sure. So before I got into the franchise business of the real estate, the restaurant, and we'll start with R. That's it. RE.
It's okay.
Anyway, my wife and I love the numero uno pizza. Okay,
some of the best.
And when I proposed to my wife, we were at a numero uno pizza restaurant down in the San Fernando Valley. And over the years, I just grew more and more fond of all of their food there. That's not just pizza. They had lasagna. They had the antipasta salad. They had the Romano puff balls. They had all kinds of food that was really, really good.
Oh, I didn't know.
Top quality. What's that?
I didn't know you proposed at the numero uno.
I did. This is before, not
crazy.
ours, of course. That was
way
down the road.
Yeah, that's funny.
But that was like, because I was like 24, 23, whatever I was young, right? And but I did propose there. And so it was good memories, and the food is good, the quality was good, but in the 1990s, the economy turned around and went south, and it was really, really difficult to keep the doors open. And because, number one, like I said, the quality of the ingredients that we used were the best cheese, the best sauce, the best ingredients across the board, pepperoni, you name it, we had the best. And we're competing with some of the lesser quality things, but the people didn't care at the time. They just wanted, 2 pizzas for $5. All right. Well, one of ours was probably $7. Now you get a lot for that $7 because of thick crust, and you get a lot of cheese and meats and vegetables and everything on there. But people trying to stretch that dollar, they really care for the quality. And over time, it's just like we just couldn't make it.
Yeah.
And before then, I always wanted to get into real estate. And I told a friend of mine the same story, and I said, I should have just bypassed that restaurant part and just got into real estate. He said, no, Ron, you wouldn't be the person that you are today if you didn't do it that way. And I said, that is true, right? The makeup of everybody is the totality of their life and their experiences. And as long as you learn from them and take them with you, you're going to benefit for them. You're going to benefit from that for the rest of your life. So,
absolutely.
And then I'd take that with me for the now and then back then and then for the rest of my life. So when I got into real estate in the very beginning, 95, 96, 97, 98. So I got my license in 95. The economy was still tough. The real estate market was sluggish at the time. There was a lot of foreclosures. It was a buyer's market. And I was just trying to get started. And the first couple of years were tough. And I stuck with it, and I pushed through. And over the years, I learned a lot from the brokers that I worked with, and then the coaches that I had at the time. And I sought out the training because I wanted to get better. And when you do that in any field, if you read books, get mentors, get extra coaching, pay for it. Do whatever you have to do to get better, and it will pay off down the road. So, and that's what I've done. And then it was in like 2000. I went with Coldwell Banker. Then I was with Keller Williams, and then at about 2012, I got my broker's license, and in between there, I was selling real estate, and then I was helping the kids. I was shuttling around Kelly when she was in her cheering for football and gymnastics and different things, and then Michael was younger. And then I was coaching Michael in baseball and football. And then when Michael got into college, I told myself that this is where I want to start growing the business. And that's about when I got my broker's license and started building the company. Brought Josh on. Michael was in college, and Michael got out of college. He had a couple of jobs. I asked him if he wanted to come work here. He said yes. And what do they say? The rest is history. So, yeah, and it's good. It is a good family-run business, and everybody is on board with the quality that we put out as far as taking care of our clients. I have a very good saying on the wall. It says, if you take care of your clients, everything else will take care of itself. And that's the way we work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a step back and say one thing.
Yes.
Numero Unos are probably some of the best deep dish pizza that you can get. I mean, it's my favorite pizza on the West Coast for sure. My wife and I, we've gone to Italy, New York, further places. And yeah, the pizza in Italy's probably the best, but it's also a thin crust. Mm-hmm. You want deep dish, you get Numero Unos. You won't be disappointed.
I think they call that Chicago style.
Chicago style, yeah.
And I think right now, BJ's has a pizza that's very comparable.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh, I haven't had it.
The deep dish BJ pizza is just very good. Yeah.
Yeah. But I remember, so out of college, I had no clue what I wanted to do, and I wasn't sure. And I remember years ago when I wasn't even in high school, my mom asked me, she said, would you want to do real estate? I said no. I never thought I was going to get into the business. I don't know. It didn't seem appealing to me. At the time I was, I think I wanted to be a financial advisor, stockbroker, something along those terms. But, things change. We learn a lot, come across a lot of different things when it comes to college. You get exposed to so much. And I started doing research at the labs in my college, did some neuroscience psychology research. That was very, very cool stuff. And originally I was thinking about going into the PhD program for neuroeconomics with Paul Zak, Dr. Paul Zak out of Claremont Graduate University. I saw a TED Talk from him, and I said, this sounds awesome, because I had done a neuroscience undergrad. I said, this is perfect. This kind of like blends the ideas of what is the economy, how do people get driven to purchase things and buy things, and mixing that with neuroscience rather than, I'm sure many people have think of like snake oil salesmen or like, hokey marketing techniques. And artists and graphic designers are massive in the marketing field and big businesses for their sales departments. But the research for Paul Zak was looking at what are the concrete biomarkers that we can look at that can actually see what people are positively responding to in commercials, in products, and in other things. And I'm sure since then he's probably published more data, worked with more companies, but I'm not going to talk about all those. But it was very cool to see, I remember when we were in the lab, there was, I had reached out to him to potentially start working at his lab for my PhD program. He invited me out, and all of his lab techs were in a conference room for their Monday meeting, and we all reviewed these commercials, and we had these things on our arms that were essentially measuring oxytocin precursors, which were able to be monitored through this, external device on our arms, which I thought was incredible. I mean, it's still kind of crazy to think, you know. So we watched a few.
Yeah, they could tell what you're thinking by a monitor on your arm.
Yes,
Kinda
exactly.
like that, right? Yeah,
exactly. So in the room, right, we're all watching a TV. We're all facing the same way. And as we're watching it in real time, he has, you know, like a tablet, and he's showing who's having spikes in oxytocin or the precursor thereof, and seeing who's positively responding to it. Remember, there's a commercial that made no sense. I don't remember anything about it, but we all just kind of were, I don't know, completely turned off by the fact that the commercial was just shown to us. It's just like, it had no value. Yeah, it had no value. And then we all look at him, and then he said, huh. He didn't even look at us. He's just looking at his tablet. Huh. No one liked that, huh? But on the flip side, we saw something that was like a very heartwarming story about, you know, a father and his daughter. So it would appeal to both males and females. And I forget what. It was like the growing up. And this was all like in a short commercial for like a photo printer, which is crazy.
Yeah, no, they're trying to get an emotional response.
Yeah.
And measure that.
Exactly.
That's
and
great.
everybody loved that commercial. Yeah. So I remember the entire premise. That's how much of an impact it had. I said, wow. And we all had that, you know, high oxytocin spike.
That's great.
And I didn't even do that program, right? I didn't even go into neuroeconomics, but
your degree is in
cognitive and behavioral neuroscience.
Yeah, that's pretty close, isn't it?
It is. I mean, it sounds like a very fancy thing, but it's just
why people do things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cognitive, like how do we think?
Yeah.
Behavioral, why do we do the things that we do? Neuroscience, like the physiology of the brain. What does that look like? What does the neural pathways look like?
Yeah.
So that's a topic I love to talk about, and then also bring that into other subjects. But
I mean, it kind of applies to real estate too.
Absolutely, it's sales. It's
sales and like why people make decisions, and why buyers make an offer, why sellers say yes or no. All of those things are pathways in the brain, and they were stimulated one way or the other from some external thing. Right?
Absolutely, exactly. Yeah, everything is stimuli.
Yeah,
you're a stimuli. These are stimuli.
Right.
Our entire worlds
are
our perceptions of stimuli, which is fascinating. But
that's a good one, right? The perception of the stimuli, because everybody's perception is a little bit different because of all the stuff that they've grown up with and their past experiences, that's why we're all different.
Exactly. No one's neural pathways are built one-to-one.
Yeah.
Not a single person's, even if you're twins. Because even if you were raised in the exact same way, in the exact same room forever, well, your perception may be from point A rather than point B, even though you're in the same room.
Yeah.
You know, so everything's just a little different,
even
when it's down to like that much similarities.
Right. So speaking of perception,
yes.
Right? So right now in the real estate world, we're kind of in a flattish state. We're going to call it that because like the sellers in general really don't want to come down in price because they've had a bunch of equity in their house, and maybe they've got a more than manageable house payment because they're sitting at 2 3/4 or 3 1/4, something really, really low. And the buyers are getting more and more inventory to choose from. And I just read an article this morning about stalemates. Like the buyers want more, even more than what the sellers have already given. And the seller goes, I've given enough. And they're walking away. There was something like 15% of all of the transactions, whenever it's last month or last quarter, something like that, just fell apart in escrow because the buyer and the seller couldn't get together. So I think part of it is from the realtors not communicating what's actually going on. And some people just say, I just had enough. And because of their perception of what's going on, it's like, you know what? The prices are still going to go up. They probably will, but for the short term, they might come down. Might stay flat. When they lower their interest rates, if they've been saying they're going to lower the interest rates, and I think
For like the past year.
That's part of the problem too. So they haven't really lowered the interest rates, and I get it. Fed Chair Powell doesn't want to lower the interest rates because it'll spike the sale price of the homes. If you get the buyers come in, then we have competition on the sales side, then the prices are going to go up, and then we're back where we were on the inflation side.
Yeah, I was reading something recently that's just people's speculations is that buyers are acting like it's 2009, right? Where they can choose any home they want and it'll cost nothing essentially.
Okay.
And sellers,
yes, go ahead.
And sellers think it's 2022. 2021 peak COVID market, right? Where it's like, oh, I want 5 offers on my home all above asking.
Yeah.
And then when the home is, priced what we, looking at comps is priced appropriately or even aggressively, and it's on the market 10, 14 days and they say there's no offers, there's a real mismatch in expectation versus reality.
Yeah. So getting back to 2009, so I would track this forever, way before 2009, but I distinctly remember there were 5,400 homes for sale in the Antelope Valley, Greater Antelope Valley Association of Realtors, MLS.
5,400?
That's a buyer's market. Okay.
Yeesh.
Right now we have a little over 1,100. Okay. That's almost 5 times. It is. It's 5 times more. 5 times as many homes in 2009 for sale than there are right now. So yes, there's more because the reality is back in 2020, 21, 2022, there was only 300, 400 homes for sale. Well, that's nothing.
Exactly.
Okay? So then it doubled. Oh my gosh, there's 600. That's still not very many. 900. Well, now we're getting some where we have some choices for the buyer side and some competition for the seller side. Like 1,100, 1,200. We'll see where it ends up. Right now, we're at, I think it was 1,175-ish or something like that when I checked on Friday. And so that's a whole lot more than a year ago because it's about double what it was a year ago. It was about 600. Well, you know what? You could get multiple offers, and the interest rates were a little bit different. So the interest rates really haven't come down, even though there was, a quarter point, 3/4 point last year. Nothing this year on the Fed side. And that makes a big difference. If the mortgage rates don't come down, or if the home prices don't come down, it makes it less affordable for home buyers. And yes, they're making more money now, but it's like they're paycheck to paycheck, and rents are not cheap either, right?
No.
So the rents are high, but the mortgages are a little bit more. The thing is, if you get into a mortgage or you purchase a home, you get that tax deduction. And then you get the appreciation, which you're never going to get appreciation when you're renting a home. So they say, buying a home, owning your home, that is like one of the best investment long term, even if it goes down. So we had a house, let's say we bought it in 1989, 91. When did we buy that house? Over on Chestnut. And the interest rates were 10 3/4. And of course, we bought the house was only $165,000. But back then it was a lot. Okay, it was in a new construction. The property went up in value for like we want the next phase was up like $240. So we bought it for $165. So, we got all this equity in the house. This is great. This is like within like 2 years, and then the bottom fell out in like 1993, 4, 5-ish back then. And now that $165,000 house that we bought was worth $129. I was like, oh, this is not good. So we were at 10 3/4, and then when it went down to $129,000, the value, probably the Federal Reserve. I wasn't really into it at that time. I wasn't in real estate, and they lowered the rates to stimulate the economy. And the interest rates were like 7, 8, 9. Okay, but we couldn't refinance because we were upside down on our house. But finally, as it improved, we refinanced to 6.5%, 6.5 or 7 on a 15-year note. So here's the power of interest rates. We were at 10 3/4. Our mortgage was like $1,700. We refinanced at 7%. 6.5 or 7% for 15 years, and our monthly payment was $150 less.
Even on a 15-year note.
On a 15-year note.
Wow.
So interest rates are a big deal, right? It's yes, and everybody knows that. I'm not saying anything people don't know. I'm just saying it's very powerful to lower that interest rate. So when it's in the mid to high sixes right now for mortgage rates, when it gets down to the 6, 5 3/4, 5.5, I'm not sure it's going to get there. So that's where I'd like it to be. But we need more inventory. We need the builders to build more homes. We need more competition, and then we have a healthy, stable real estate market, in my opinion. All right, and we don't want inflation, so we can't do it too early. So it's a little cat and mouse game with the president and the federal Fed chair Powell.
I think also, in addition to all that, there's a friction that we're seeing in the market that's also causing, the less competition among buyers. Is that the current mortgages of homes, because they're so high, they can't rent out these homes in the greater LA area for net positive if they only put the minimum down. Yeah. So if you're the average American, average Joe that wants to, have some rental properties, but you don't have a ton of capital yet, it doesn't make any sense. If you're not putting down, 25, 50% down, where you can have that automatic net positive cash flow, right, then you're kind of out of the rental game.
That is true. And then during that COVID era, right? I don't like talking about it because it was no fun going through that. Everybody knows that. Yeah. But in the mid 2000s, 2021, people were just buying homes to rent them out. Okay, and that still may be a viable option for those people that have those homes if they've refinanced with those lower rates, if they have positive cash flow. If they don't have positive cash flow, and if you're breaking even, you're probably okay if you get to take that depreciation and some other write-offs for being a business owner. But there could be a negative too. And you're going to wait a long time. You may have to wait a long time for those two things to happen: appreciate the equity appreciating in the home, and then rents increasing to cover the mortgage. So it's kind of a gamble, right? So long term, you'll be fine. Short term, painful.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing is a lot of people they look at the real estate market in the lens of the past 5 years. When how long was the last real estate cycle?
Long.
And technically, are we at the top? Are we plateauing? Are we gonna see another peak? Well, what's gonna happen?
I don't see a crash.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't see a crash.
When did the last cycle, bottom out? 2007,
8, 9, right in there. Okay.
Let's call it 8.
Yeah.
So it's been 15, 16.
18 would be 10 years. Yeah. 23 would be 15 years. 17, 18 years.
It's been on that 18 years for the last market cycle. And that's just one cycle, right?
Yeah.
Whenever you look at economics, you have to look at a ton of factors, right? Like, what does the last cycle look like? How long was the one before that and the one before that? Okay, so 2008 was the beginning of essentially this cycle, right? That bottom.
Yeah.
When was the last bottom? 94? 98
was the last bottom.
Okay.
No, it started earlier.
Sure.
That was the last bottom where it started to take off again.
Okay.
It took off for about 8, 9, 10 years.
Okay.
And then there was a correction for something else. And it always happens that way. And it's well, that's never going to happen again. That's true. It never happens again because we fixed that stuff. It's something else. We don't know what it's going to be. I don't know what it's going to be. Nobody knows what it's going to be. There will be a cycle.
Exactly.
History repeats itself for different reasons.
The thing is this is, I think, might be the longest stretch of an appreciating market. 2008 to, the peak appreciation, 2023, 2024.
Yeah.
Right now we're seeing that, I'd call it a plateau in price.
Yeah.
So, but we're still not seeing any major decrease in price. At least that's statistically significant.
Right.
Shout out to my stats nerds.
So I would say that right today, looking at the data, because the data is a month or two old, okay, I'd say there could be a downturn in those prices. When you look at this thing in August and September, okay, because the homes that closed today went into escrow 30, 45, 60 days ago. So that market is different than it is today. There's more houses on the market today than there were 60 days ago. And the interest rates really didn't change much. And then people kind of pull in their purse strings and they go, oh, let's wait and see. Sellers want to wait for the interest rates to come down because they think more buyers are going to come in. Buyers want the interest rates to come down because they want a better mortgage rate. I was like, if the interest rates don't come down, we're at a stalemate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even more so in the greater LA area, builders aren't building because there's so much red tape. It costs so much to build new homes.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, number one, the land is extremely expensive. If you can find prime land in LA that's worth building residential, insane prices. And I mean, it's reflected in if they're apartment units, it's reflected in the rent. I mean, I'm tired of seeing things online of luxury apartment living when it's just vinyl flooring and white walls. Is that what luxury is? Oh, okay, perfect. It's 9-foot ceilings. Great. Why is that luxury living? Just because it's like in LA? I mean, it's in a...
I don't know. Maybe it's clickbait.
It's not, yeah, clickbait to come walk through and us take your money. I mean, I have friends, you know, that are living in places that I'm like, are you like, it's nice, you know, absolutely, it's nice, but it's like $4,500 a month for a single bedroom. That's insane.
That's tough.
Like, when you're looking at that,
Well, okay,
Yeah.
if we're doing that, okay, and I know not everybody can live out in the Antelope Valley, which is a northern LA county, but $4,500 would get you a really, 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 really nice house.
absolutely. You know, it's exactly, and everything's relative to your area, but there's a reason that you know, real estate in LA is so expensive.
Yeah.
You know, it's prime location. Many people live in LA or work in LA proper,
And they're not building much down there. Well, it's all built out, right? This is a northern LA County and some other places, but for the most part, there's still room in northern LA County to build. But you go on the other side, south of where we're at right here, yeah, it's pretty much built out. And if they do build it up, it's expensive.
Exactly. I'm really curious. I think my long-term projections are going to be seeing more densely populated cities on the West Coast start to look more vertical.
Yeah.
And that's going to be over the next 50 years, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what New York is, right? It's all Manhattan specifically, extremely vertical, and because it's all prime real estate, right? Everything is right there in Manhattan. Well, everything in downtown LA, not downtown LA, more like West Side LA, is prime real estate. Okay. What are they going to do with the land from the Palisades, Malibu, all that area along the, I should say on the west side of the 405?
Yeah.
I mean, what's keeping, you know, large companies from turning those into high-rise multifamilies? You know,
Zoning.
What happens when people get money in their pockets? Zoning changes.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, zoning could change.
Absolutely. I mean,
I don't know. We'll
I
find
don't know.
out.
These are just speculations
Yeah,
I
for
have
sure.
because, I mean, what's going to happen? Prices are going to skyrocket for single families, and then
I was talking to our neighbor across the street. Kenny's going to be on the podcast in a couple of weeks. But we were talking about the different things and changes, and we were saying that the only thing that's constant is change. So real estate is not immune to that, and something horrific like those fires earlier this year in Altadena and in the Palisades. It's like it's never going to look the same. You know, I don't know what they're going to do exactly. Some people are going to rebuild. Some people are going to
leave.
I mean, it definitely going to. It's sad, very, very, very sad, but it's going to change.
I mean, fire insurance alone has made such an impact in real estate in the greater LA area.
Yeah.
I mean, some people, you know, if they were able to afford the same price home last year with the same interest rate, well, now fire insurance makes it almost impossible for them to buy that home.
Yeah.
tough.
Something's got to be done about that.
Yeah, I don't know what, but
Yeah.
something has to change in order for the average person, average person that's in the geographical area to be able to afford these homes, because the limiting factor is the fire insurance.
Oh, right.
If the fire insurance adds, $600 a month to your mortgage payment, that affects affordability so much. Pardon the quick interruption, and we hope you're enjoying the show so far. Now, if you know anybody or you yourself are thinking about buying or selling a home, we'd love to help you out. Feel free to text us, call us, or message us on any of our platforms. Otherwise, let's get back to the show.
A home that I sold back in not Leona, end of Leona Valley. It's called Lake Hughes. Okay, and a fire hadn't had a fire in 50 years. Okay, that's another story about controlled burns. But anyway, so this guy's house had a concrete driveway around the whole home, and because of that, the fire department was able to save that house. They used that house to fight the fire. And because when we went back and had it under contract, it wasn't on the market as of yet, but there was like boot marks in the carpet, and there was like where embers had been on their boots had melted different parts of the carpet. Now, after the fire had been put out and gone and everything, they put their insurance claim in, and then they didn't have to rebuild the house, but they had to replace some things in the house. Some of the not fiberglass, it's heavy plastic molding that went around the window frames. Melted. All right, so it just melted. And I don't know, I didn't see it to see if the windows had been blown out or not, but they were using their hoses through the house, fighting the fire, putting out everything around the house so that they could save the house, and they did. Fire department did such an excellent job. But fire insurance for a home like that now, even though it's probably not going to burn, everything burned, okay, around the house. There's nothing else to burn. But it's probably $6,000-$7,000 a year for fire insurance because he's in the zone. So, and it is just it's craziness on how much people have to pay. They have to pay because unless they pay cash for the house, then they don't have to have fire insurance. Should have fire insurance, but if they got a loan on it, the lender wants to have make sure that the house is protected from fire insurance just in case, so their money is protected.
Exactly.
Yes. So there's lots of things that go on in real estate that some people don't really think about until they're in the transaction. So my home is just north of the aqueduct, probably 3 streets north of the aqueduct, but I'm in a fire zone. And it's like, well, there's a whole bunch of houses that are going to burn before mine burns, and I don't want that to happen to anybody. There's a water tank up there. There's a fire. There's an aqueduct there. They're probably going to be able to put it out, but it's like, it doesn't matter. Well, they drew the line. My house is inside the line, and it's inside the fire zone. So we have a combination policy. It's Farmers has the contents, and then the California Fair Plan has the fire exterior policy in case the house burns down. And thank God we got that with the California Fair Plan. And my brother's in the insurance business, and he said that most of the companies that are selling insurance, if you can find a company selling insurance in California for fire insurance, participate in that Fair Plan so that they can make it affordable. And then there's other ones outside of those fire zones that don't have to pay that, and maybe some of that money gets put back in there. But it is a fire insurance crazy, right? And it's not like you started a fire inside your house. It's like wildfire stuff. It's like you can't control it,
right?
Yeah, and you can't protect. Yeah.
So something I think some people may be not 100% knowledgeable on is, say you buy a home, well, and you have a mortgage on it, right? You put 5% down. Are you, Mr. Homeowner, the owner of the home, or is the big bank the owner of the home?
Well, I get the tax deduction.
Sure. So, you're right.
The bank holds the note. I make payments to the bank.
Yeah.
Technically.
What does holding the note mean?
Holding the note means so that I don't have enough money to pay cash for it. The banks, the institutions have money from their depositors to lend out to homeowners, and then they borrow that money and they use that home as collateral to make that loan. That's why when lenders are doing their due diligence on a loan, one of the biggest things they do is have an appraisal on the property to make sure that they're lending the right amount of money for the loan, as opposed to, because if a home, hypothetically, selling for $500,000, well, Mr. Appraiser, go out and check to see if that house is worth $500,000. If for some reason it's only worth $400,000, they're not going to lend $500,000. They're going to lend on what the appraised value is. So that's the main thing. And it's like, getting back to the question.
Yeah.
Is it my house? I mean, not technically until it's all paid off.
Right.
Right. When it's totally paid off, it's mine, unencumbered. Okay.
Exactly. Unencumbered.
So until you get it paid off, you have a mortgage lien on the house. I mean, somebody has
some interest.
There you go. The interest in that property, and until that note gets paid off, then it's not 100% yours. It's mostly yours. You're living in it. You get to the tax deduction. You're making the payments on it, but it's better than rent, right?
So I was talking with someone earlier this week, and we made a funny comparison of repoing a car, repossessing a car because you didn't make car payments on it. You know, and what that looks like. A tow man comes wherever they spot you, they're going to take that car sometime. Yeah. What does that same process look like in real estate? Because it's completely different. Because I can't just jack up your home when you're gone at work, you know?
Can't do that. No. So, but California is a little bit different than some of the other states in the United States. But in California, there's a process. If you miss a payment and you're 30 days late, the bank, the note holder, can start the foreclosure process. But that first step is a notice of default. They send the homeowner a notice of default saying, Mr. Homeowner, you're in delinquent. We would like for you to make that up, okay? And if they don't, then they've got 90 days to cure that default and the deficit. Anything, if there's taxes in there, if there's penalties and interest, attorney fees, all kinds of things. And if they don't, at the end of that 90 days, the lender can put that house up for auction on the courthouse steps. That's the old saying, and that's true. And then if nobody buys it there, the bank gets that property back. So they're not really in the business of taking homes back. They would just rather people make their payments. And then when they get it back, it goes through their different committees and all of their organizations inside the bank. And then at some point, it will become what they call an REO, a real estate owned. And that's just real estate owned by any entity. Typically, they're talking about banks because they lend most money. And then some of them are Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. If they're FHA, they're a HUD home. They will come back on the market as an REO. Typically, I don't know, we really don't have that many out there right now because anybody that bought their house probably 4 or 5 years ago has equity in it right now. If they bought their house in the last 3 years, they may not. HUD doesn't fix up anything. Okay, the Housing and Urban Development, the FHA-backed loans. So they don't fix up anything. You buy that house as is. They're not going to say, "Oh, we need a new roof." Too bad. Then you buy the house the way it is. We're not fixing anything.
You might just be buying a trap house, and they say, "You know what a trap house is?" That's funny. There you go. Trap house. It's like modern day crack house.
Yeah.
There you go. Exactly.
So they do a little bit of due diligence, and if there's FHA items that need to be fixed, they'll do those, and that's it. Okay, but if it needs carpet, needs paint, needs a whatever, needs a roof, you go buy it yourself, you know, and you take care of it yourself. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, on the other hand, have in the past refurbished these homes. They put new paint, new flooring, typically new appliances, and then they resell them. Because if you don't, they're going to get less. And we recommend for our home sellers, if they, hey, can I just sell it as is? You can. You can sell your house as is.
You're going to take a big hit in the pockets.
Yeah, because the main thing, if it's just even those two things, carpet and paint, paint inside and outside, and flooring, okay? Even if, I'm going to make up a number, 15 grand, okay? That's a lot of money. Yeah, but you're going to get $50,000 less.
Yes.
If you don't put $15,000 into it.
Absolutely.
And because most homes buyers they don't have the money to go fix that stuff up. They'd rather roll it into their mortgage and pay for it over time.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, they don't want to do it. They don't have the time to do it. Want to buy a house, move in, put their stuff down, and get back to work.
Because I know people that have bought homes. I mean, I check in with them 6 months later. Hey, how's it going? How's everything? It's like, oh, we're still living out of boxes. And I know that's not everybody, but that happens because, you're both busy, maybe you have a kid, maybe, you're both working jobs, going to school. That's tough.
Yeah.
To fully, move into a home now.
Yeah. So there's a term still today. They call it turnkey.
Mm-hmm.
So that means basically you turn the key to your front door, you walk in, put your stuff down, and then you don't have to do anything. You don't have to paint. You don't have to put in new appliances. You don't have to put in curtains. You don't have to put in, ideally, you don't have to do the front yard or the backyard. It's all done. That, in my opinion, is turnkey, where you just walk in and then go back to your life, as opposed to, I got to fix the air conditioner. I got to fix the sprinklers. I got to put grass in the backyard. I got to put a patio up. I mean, that's not turnkey. Just because it's got new flooring and new paint and new appliances, there's still work to be done. Okay. But it's better than not, right? That's a lot of it's done. You can get that other stuff done over time. But time and money, that's all. But if it's already done and it was, I don't know, $50,000 added to the mortgage, I think people would rather do that, trade that money for time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to go back a little bit when we were talking about, going delinquent, notice of default, like what did that process look like? I was talking with someone earlier this week also about what the process was like to buy a home in the early 2000s, right? So you need a mortgage, right? Like almost everybody does. You didn't need to verify income. You didn't need to verify a lot of things. How much money did you need to put down out of pocket to buy a home?
That was part of the problem of the crash.
And that's what we were talking about,
so
right?
It wasn't, right in the early to mid 2000s, right? Just before the crash, right? They had these loan terms. One was called NINA, N-I-N-A. One was called SISA, S-I-S-A. NINA, no income, no assets, but if you had a high FICO score, they give you a loan. And NINA, no income, no assets.
CISA.
CISA, stated income, stated assets. All right, got those up?
Yeah.
Doubled up on that one. No income, no assets, stated income, stated assets.
Yeah.
Okay.
On paper that I wrote, I make
how much you want
$500,000 a year,
Yeah.
and I have $10 million of assets.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, you know what? You qualify for a lot of home.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I would say the bigger problem, they had 20% first, 80% first, 20% second.
Mm-hmm. So for the layperson, what does that mean?
That means say you have a $100,000 home, an 80% first, which means it would be $80,000, and a 20% second would be that other $20,000. So it's like 100% financing, 80% first, 20% second. People were getting into these homes with a credit report and appraisal. So you're looking at $600-700. And I used $100,000 as an example, but this was happening on $750,000 homes.
In the early 2000s.
In the early mid-2000s before the crash. So it's like, gee, what could go wrong? They're just renting the house, basically. They have no equity. They have none of their own money in there. We'd have 80% first, 20% second. And sometimes they would have the seller pay the closing costs. And the sellers didn't care at the time because they were getting top dollar for their house.
Exactly.
So the buyers were getting in for, like I said, $600-700 to buy a $700,000 house.
And they're buying it. I mean, how many payments would they make on these things, at the time?
Yeah. So there was a movie done on this. It was called The Big Short. And I read the book and I watched the movie. If you ever have a chance to go do either one, or read the book or watch the movie, it is incredible. It's pretty spot on about what happened. And it's like, oh, the realtors, they did it. It's the realtors' fault. No, it was Wall Street's fault. Okay, it was. If you go watch that, and it's like because they want to lend money, they keep coming up with new avenues for buyers that couldn't afford the house to buy a house, and stated income, stated assets, and
Because the lenders just want to keep making money. Like, how can we make more money? How can we make more money?
So then they had all kinds of rules put in place that, just a ridiculous amount of rules. And I get it. I got to protect the people from people that are not looking out for the buyers and sellers' best interests. There's people out there. Most of them are. There's a small percentage that aren't. And so there's more rules now.
Right. And legally, you, me, realtors, brokers, act as fiduciaries for these consumers, these people buying and selling their homes. We have to act in their best interest. And if real estate agents are not, then that's a big ethical violation. Lose your license, get fined, get sued. There's big problems there.
Right. And it has happened, and then they cannot ever use a real estate license, get a real estate license again. And there were lenders doing the same thing, and they can't do lending. No, they probably find a way to get it done, but they can't get a license anymore. Yeah, that was some bad news back there in the mid 2000s. It was just nuts. And I saw something. I forget who the Fed chair was at the time. Could have been. I don't know. I'm not even going to say because I don't know who it was. But they did a report. They said, well, they didn't see a bubble because most of the people had 20% equity. Now, I don't know who was doing the research for this guy, but I'm pretty sure when I saw that, I go, I don't know about that. I think that 20% is a second. And
a second mortgage.
Sure enough, right? The second mortgage. So it was 80% first, 20% second. If they're just looking at how much is on the first, and they go, yeah, they have equity. If you don't count the second.
Right. If you look at the total amount of liens on the property, that's different.
That's different.
Yeah.
So depending on who was doing that research, I go, I don't think that's right at all. I don't see it. And then I was watching the notices of default come across my desk. I subscribed to this, company. And at one time, this was in the, I say 2004, 5, 6, right? 2004, 5, and 6. It was like, one notice of default a week, then it was a couple a week, and then it was a couple a day, and then it was 10 a week and 15 a week. I'm like, this is not a good trend, okay? And I had other people that had been in the business. So at that time, I was only in the business for not even 10 years, okay? Long enough, but the people that have been in the business longer than me for like 20 years. Oh, no, we're just going to plateau, and then it's going to take off again. Like, okay. I don't see it that way. And sure enough, man, when that hammer dropped, it was bad.
Yeah.
And I think the property values dropped about 40% at that time from wherever that top was to wherever the bottom was, and it was a short amount of time, maybe a year or two. It was a 40% decline in value. That's not happening now. The economy's too strong. There was other things affecting the economy at the time besides that, bogus loans.
Exactly.
But like right now, I mean, in general, the economy is still strong. The interest rates having a mild effect on home prices right now. Like I said, they're not appreciated. And home prices are not going to keep going up forever. That's just insane if they're just going like this, right? Because 2000, 2001, 2002, well, there was like a 2-year period where we had back-to-back 20% increase in values.
Exactly. It's insane.
And when then it went back to like, 10, 7, 5. Okay. And then this year, relatively flat. And then depending on how it continues, there could be some decreased value in home prices, depending on how much that inventory increases.
Big tip on anybody who's a homeowner. If, you have a massive decrease in the, home prices, do not sell your home. Do not do it. Okay.
Unless you have to. Sometimes you have to.
Exactly. If you have alternate options, and sometimes people just do it because they panic. They say, oh, well, my biggest asset was my home, and now I have no asset, right? Or like all my equity's gone, right? Because I'm upside down all of a sudden. If you can still make those payments, continue to make the payments so that you can own that item free and clear. Otherwise, you just threw away, 15 years of mortgage payments. And, whenever you move somewhere else, so you start renting, okay, great. Now in 8 years, your property has reappreciated at least to some degree, even if it's not 100%. Even, some of that has come back. There's no better place to have diamond hands of holding than real estate.
And in California,
California real estate
run, it just goes like this. Now, on the goes like this, it kind of goes like this on that, okay? But in the long run, it'll go up. Like we was talking about my house over on Chestnut. We bought it for 165. It went down to 129, okay? And we were all messed up with the interest rates and stuff, but we hung on to it. At one point, we bought another home, rented it out for 1 year, but when we sold it, it was $375. Okay, and we had it for like 13 years. One time, very time we purchased it to the time that we sold it. You know, a lot of that time we lived there, but from 165 to 375, I mean,
more than doubled.
That's great. Yeah,
right? Absolutely,
and that's the value of owning real estate in California. And hang on to it, right? Got to hang on to it.
Yeah. So,
yes,
I know we could talk forever about all this stuff, and we're gonna have more topics on real estate, Ron's life, my life, Josh's life when he gets back here.
That'd be great.
But
more fun.
In the meantime, you know, thanks. We hope you guys enjoyed the episode.
Yes.
If you guys know anybody thinking about buying or selling real estate, we'd love to help them out. We have a ton of business and real estate knowledge here.
And I love sharing.
I have a ton of it, you know, just from that drip down effect, but also I ask a ton of questions.
You know, that's one thing that and whether our buyers or sellers, when we help them, they don't realize how much information they didn't know. And mainly because we share it with them. And we sort of like, not even hypotheticals. These are real, actionable transactions that we have had. And this is what happens when you do this. And we have to think about this when you make this decision. And so we listen. We're really, really, really good at listening and then helping each one of our clients with whatever their goals are. Okay, and that's why we have been so successful, helping our clients achieve their goals.
Absolutely.
Yep. Thanks,
guys.
Thank you very much.
Tune in next time.
And I'm going to do my thing.
Okay? Do the thing.
I'm going to do the thing. Remember, for higher expectations and higher standards, choose the higher advantage, real estate, sales, and service. Take care. Be safe out there. And have a great day.